Well, hello. My name is John Bonner. I'm a missionary, a pastor, and the director of Calvary Chapel Bible College in Cajamarca, Peru, in South America. I am honored that you would listen to my unique testimony, and I pray that it would be a blessing and an encouragement to you. Chapter 10. The Shining Path. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. Psalm 91, verses 5 through 7. September 1990, Lima, Peru. It was 3 a.m. as I fumbled for the telephone in Hostal Miraflores in Lima. A threatening voice from Peru's notorious Sendero Luminoso threatened, "If you are the brothers that are going to Huaycán each day, we want you to know that if you return tomorrow, you will not come out alive." The terrorist hung up. Pastor Mick asked me in the hallway at church, "Is your passport current? I've been invited to Peru for 8 days and I need you to go as my translator." I could not believe it. I would soon be traveling to South America, a lifelong dream fulfilled. Mick explained that his friend, Mark Leiden, had been working in Peru and wanted Mick to see the needs firsthand. Acts of terrorism had devastated the country, and Mark felt there was a lot we could do as a church to bring healing to the nation. Mick put me right to work on the project, contacting other churches in the area to see if they would also like to get involved. 11 brave souls signed up over a few weeks' time: a dentist, a chiropractor, 6 carpenters, Mark, Mick, and I. The dentist was able to have hundreds of toothbrushes and tubes of toothpaste donated. When the manager of the local Walmart heard of our trip, he gave us thousands of dollars of nearly expired medications from the store pharmacy, such as cough syrup and Tylenol, plus a $300 check to stock up on candy. A local optometrist sent dozens of eyeglasses, and NASA even donated plastic corrugated houses from their scrap project to build a lunar city. Within a month, we were ready to roll and met up at Sky Harbor International Airport in Phoenix. As we were about to board the plane, we saw a little sign with a travel advisory issued by the State Department warning travelers heading to Peru about terrorist activities. We all nervously chuckled. Hey, that's right where we're headed. Sendero Luminoso, known as the Shining Path in English, is a ruthless, Maoist-trained terrorist group that rose to prominence in Peru between 1980 and 1992. During that time period, the Peruvian government tallied more than 62,200 terrorist-related deaths or disappearances. Their goal was to overthrow Peru's democratic government and to establish a Marxist form of communism. Car bombs were their weapon of choice, and many innocent people died in the blast. Sendero Luminoso especially targeted evangelical Christians, assassinating pastors, sometimes eliminating entire congregations and burning churches to the ground. September 20th, 1990, Peru, South America. Irma Griffin, a former Señorita Peru, was our contact and met us at the airport in Lima. She had many important friends, including Peru's newly elected president, Alberto Fujimori. She told us that we would be getting right to work because we would be joining up with the president the next day as he visited one of the most affected neighborhoods in the country. In the morning, our team piled into a couple of Volkswagen vans and soon found ourselves in a caravan with about 30 other vehicles, police cruisers, military personnel carriers, cars belonging to the press, the presidential motorcade, and our little beat-up vans. It was surreal. A platform had been erected with gala colors in the town center, and a band was playing the national anthem when we arrived. A shabby group of jet-lagged Americans stumbled out of the vans, while the president took his place at the podium to address the crowd. To thank you for helping elect me to office, I come here today to fulfill my promises to the people of Huaycán. As you can see, I have brought people to help, along with medicines, eyeglasses, food, and even moon houses. The crowd roared to thank the president. My heart sank. It was the Lord who had provided these things, and this typical politician was taking credit for everything. I sensed we were pawns used in a political game. It was exciting, however, to say that I met a dignitary and was able to shake the hand of a real-life president. Soon, Alberto Fujimori returned to his car and left with the press, police, and military. Still standing next to the vans, we were all alone now, feeling as if we had been thrown to the lions. We had been warned that this was a stronghold for Sendero Luminoso, and we needed to be vigilant. We got right to work in this dusty shantytown. The carpenter started building the moon houses, the chiropractor set up her portable table in a makeshift clinic, while I worked as the assistant and translator for the dentist. A long line of people formed at the door of this unkept clinic, needing relief from tooth problems. My job was to hold the flashlight for the dentist and interpret. It was evident that we would soon deplete our meager supply of anesthetic, but people were in such pain that they were willing to have their teeth extracted without it. We learned that Huaycán had no water except for the non-potable water a pipe truck would occasionally bring. People survived on sugary soft drinks, not good as the dentist would comment as he inspected the decaying teeth of the townspeople. We were told that there was a cholera problem in Huaycán, and we were not to eat any food while we were there. It was also my responsibility to interview the people of Huaycán on video, to record their words of appreciation for those at Calvary Chapel of the Verde Valley who helped finance our trip and for the businesses who donated toward this worthy cause. I met and interviewed a 16-year-old, Samuel, who was smiling from ear to ear. His teeth were rotten, some were missing. I asked him if he was happy, and he said yes, he was very happy. I considered Samuel's surroundings. He lived in poverty, under the daily threat of cholera and Sendero Luminoso, with no available drinking water, yet he was happy. In contrast, my mind took me back home to a 16-year-old teenager I was close to in Arizona who had a driver's license, his own car, a health club membership, a nice stereo system, and yet he was bored and miserable. This was a vivid reminder that affluence and things do not bring satisfaction. Along with the practical work we did with the people of Huaycán, we were able to present daily evangelistic outreaches. We sent money ahead to purchase 5,000 Bibles and quickly depleted our supply with decisions that were made for Christ. We discerned that there was great spiritual hunger in Peru. When we passed out gospel tracts, people would read them right in front of us and ask for another for their friends and relatives. Mrs. Griffin brought in several young people to join us in the evangelistic effort, and the ministry grew day by day. Each night at dusk, we loaded a bus and headed back to Lima, where we stayed at Hostal Miraflores. The days were long and tiring. We slept very well at night, that is, until I received that 3 a.m. phone call saying that we were not welcome in Huaycán. Pastor Mick, I told my roommate, they say they are going to kill us if we return to Huaycán tomorrow. Mick rolled back to sleep in his bed, muttering, "Let's discuss this in the morning over breakfast." He went right back to sleep, but I did not. He did not seem concerned, but I did not like the idea of never seeing my wife or children again. I would not mind dying for him, but please, Lord, not here in Peru. Everyone got ready for the day's outreach and gathered for breakfast. Not a word was mentioned, however, about a change of plans. I brought it up with my pastor. Mick, do you remember that phone call last night? They said they were going to kill us today. He replied, "Oh, yeah, I've been giving that some thought. You know, John, the Lord has done so much to bless this trip with doctors, builders, medications, Bibles, airfare, and supplies. I just can't see him not blessing and protecting us as we go out and serve him. We'll go back today and see what happens." I was really hoping for a different answer. I heard there was a pretty beach nearby. The people who were being ministered to each day brought more and more friends. The crowds grew, and so did the number of helpers, and so did my anxiety. But the medical as well as the evangelistic outreaches were going incredibly well. The Lord protected day after day, and He was honored by our efforts. Before we left Huaycán that last day, plans were being made for a return trip the following January, and I was the one chosen to lead the team. On our second trip to Peru, I was dining with friends on January 30th, 1991, at an outdoor restaurant in Miraflores' famed Calle de las Pizzas. At 8 p.m., we were rocked by a loud explosion a half-block away in El Parque Kennedy. Sendero Luminoso blew the bust of John F. Kennedy from its pedestal, highlighting the group's animosity against anything American. Nonetheless, both outreaches continue to go exceptionally well, and the Lord proved faithful by His divine protection. Years later, Pastor Mick watched a documentary on Sendero Luminoso on television. He was shocked and told me, "John, those shining path guys are cruel savages. They do kill people. If I would have known what I know now, I never would have returned to that very dangerous area. That was crazy." On that first outreach trip to Peru, our team was blessed to meet a very special Peruvian pastor who would prove to be very instrumental in my life. Rómulo Sáñez Quicaña, along with his American wife, were invited by Irma Griffin to speak to our group at Hostal Miraflores. Rómulo was a third-generation pastor and evangelist, taking the good news of Jesus to the Quechua-speaking tribes in the Ayacucho region of the Andes Mountains. He shared with us how his people had suffered and how as many as 15,000 orphans were left in towns and villages in the wake of Sendero Luminoso attacks. Undaunted, Rómulo and his father fearlessly continued to share the gospel with their people, and God used him to translate the Bible into the Quechua language for the people he loved so much. Shortly after my initial visit to Peru, I was informed that Rómulo and his brother were ambushed by Sendero Luminoso on September 5th, 1992. They were returning home by bus from one of the highland villages where they were ministering and were systematically lined up on the side of the road and gunned down, along with other believing relatives. I had met and had been in the presence of true modern-day martyrs. After my first ministry trip to Peru, my wife met me at the airport in Phoenix. Pilar must have seen that gleam in my eyes because she said, "We are not moving to Peru." I just smiled and committed the future to the Lord's hands, knowing that a part of my heart remained in South America. In the meantime, the Lord allowed me to return to Peru almost annually to minister in various ways. The myth of coincidence. The Lord never said that the Christian life would be comfortable. In fact, he promises trials and tribulation, perils and danger. Jesus and all his original disciples suffered. Most died unimaginable deaths. There are followers of Jesus today that are living under intense persecution. As believers in Jesus, we know there is a very real enemy, and we will be intensely involved in spiritual warfare. Our reward is Jesus himself, and when a believer is called home because of death and martyrdom, it is truly gain. The Apostle Paul and Barnabas were selected from a good many believers at the Council of Jerusalem. They were chosen to take a very important communique to the Gentile believers around the empire. The reason? Because they had risked their lives for the gospel. Honor and recognition come to those who have faced death for the cause of Christ. If you were threatened with death for being a follower of Jesus, how would you respond? Do you take your Christian life seriously, that you would die for him?